right, everybody, this is going to be the Mallets portion of the All-County Band Audition. So you're going to walk into the room and they're going to ask you to play 2 scales in the chromatic scale. You need to know all 5 scales really well and the chromatic, but they'll only pick 2. So let's talk through some of the issues you might run into as you're practicing these. When I start my B-flat scale, I start it with my left hand. And I should play that 2 octaves like it says. A couple things about what I'm doing that you may not be doing is playing right on the resonator. If you play too close to the node, which is where the strings are, it's going to get a worse sound. One cool trick, though, is that you can play on the edge of the bar and get a decent sound. So if you're playing kind of fast and you want to keep it off the middle of the bar, I don't love that sound, but it's a way to get through it if you're having trouble. But I would stay to the resonator if possible. So as I'm playing up, sometimes my hands switch if I keep alternating every time, and you want to make sure you're always alternating. Missed a note, it's okay, sometimes that happens. You just got to keep playing. So make sure you are always alternating and that you have the same sticking every time you play it, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're thinking in the moment. You want this to be automatic and memorized to a certain degree. Next scale, B flat, E flat, 2 octaves. I'm going to play it slow. I'm going to try this with a right hand lead to see if it's any easier. Yes, when you're playing E flat major, play it off of the right hand first. Decided all of a sudden to switch to my left hand when I led, and I think the arpeggio might still be easier with the right hand lead. Yeah, definitely right hand lead. Okay, and that's E flat, making sure the same thing with B flat, that you're alternating always and that you have the stickings memorized. So left hand for B flat start, right hand for E flat start, B flat, E flat, A flat. Let's go down here. A flat major. I doubled a couple notes in here. I wouldn't suggest doing that, but you can if it's a mess up in the moment. I would always try to alternate. Okay, and then B flat, E flat, A flat. But before I go on, same thing. Alternating always. Make sure your stickings are planned out. B flat, E flat, A flat, F. I doubled a couple down here. Not sure how I feel about that. Yeah, I would alternate. That's a little bit easier. This is why the scales that are, quote, easier are harder to play fast. I end up making more mistakes on the keys that have less accidentals than the ones with accidentals. So arpeggio is kind of messing me up. Right? If you practice that enough, you can get it down. It just takes a hot second. And then B flat, E flat, F, and F, and C. C is obviously going to be your easiest one. Yeah, we'll play it in this area. Again, no accidentals. If you go slow enough, all these can be really good. And because they're asking you for just a couple scales and chromatic, you want to make sure that whatever you do is clean. So don't try to blaze through these things unless you're ready. For instance, when I slowed that C major scale down, I got a lot better at it, and I didn't make as many mistakes. Chromatic is the next thing. Chromatic is 2 octaves from C to C. I'm going to do this entire range here. I'm going to start left-hand lead. Every time I get to a non-accidental area, like between E and F and between C and B, my hands are going to switch places and they're going to lead in different ways. And so you need to be prepared to move your body and move your arms so that you can get through the chromatic scale without messing up or doubling anything unnecessarily. Here it comes. I ended where I started. Everything works out in the end. You can also start that right hand lead, doesn't matter. In fact, if you start right, if you start right hand lead on this, when you get to the top, the B and the C are easier to play. Oh, darn it. I will get this. Because when you get to the top, you have B and C next to each other. I've been doing this off of the left instead of the right as I've practiced this over my life. So that is the chromatic scale. You need to make sure that you pick a hand to start with. I would suggest that right hand so you don't have to reach over when you get to the BC. Okay, so do it that right way. Next and last thing is talking about the instrument choice. So at Randleman, you have 2 choices, marimba and xylophone. You need to be prepared to play both. So have both sets of mallets with you. Jeez Louise. And be prepared not only to play it on a different instrument, but be comfortable on that instrument. The marimba is a certain height, the xylophone is a certain height, and if you don't have the right height of instrument, it's going to mess you up with how fast you're able to play these things. So just because you're more comfortable on marimba, but if you're short and you can't reach it, then go to the xylophone, go to the other instrument that's shorter for you, and make sure you're accurate with what you're playing. Lastly is we need to practice sight reading. So we're going to head over to Sight Reading Factory, and we're going to go to, instead of snare drum, we're going to go to mallets. We're going to go to level 2. We're going to level 1, and we're going to do B flat major and start. when you're reading in any key, any level, you want to make sure that you're consistent with tempo. And with mallets, because it's so much harder than reading on a drum, because there's pitches and rhythm to worry about, I like to tell people to go at least to about 70 beats per minute. Here's how fast that sounds. That still seems kind of fast. So make sure you are good at identifying what the letter names are and how they apply to the keyboard. If it's a low B flat, don't play it all the way up here. Play it down here. Here it comes. Okay, already made 2 mistakes and I missed the first note. I'm gonna start over. You shouldn't do that in the audition. You should just keep going, but I'm gonna do it for the sake of y'all. It might have rolls. You can choose to do rolls in practice or not. Or if you're just learning how to read it, you can do that. It will be harder than that, more than likely. You also need to practice these in different keys and in different time signatures. Different key. We'll go to E flat major. When you're looking at the sight reading for the first time, you want to make sure you identify all the problems that you might have with it. So dotted half note, if that's hard for you, make sure you count through it. Make sure you identify your key signature. Obviously, we're in E flat major, so we have 3 flats, B flat, E flat, and A flat. You're not allowed to play the instrument while you study this, so you can use your fingers. But make sure it's slow. I messed up there, so I'm going to try that again. Sometimes certain patterns will mess me up. Rest. Whenever it's stepwise, that should be really easy. If that messes you up in there, then make sure you work that out in the sight reading practice. Okay. All right, time's up. We got to play it. Here it comes. Soft at the beginning. I didn't particularly love that I missed that mezzo piano increase in volume. Could have played that a little louder. There will likely be crescendos and decrescendos, so you want to make sure that you put some fake ones in your brain. For instance, like find some places where the phrase goes up or down. Like maybe make a crescendo here and then a decrescendo here. So again, 2, 3. I keep messing that. 1, 2, 3. And I held that C too long, but you get the idea. Try to find places to be musical to make the phrase go up and down. You want to practice sight reading so much that it's easy. Whether you do mallets, whether you do sight reading on a snare drum or in symphony, it needs to be easy as possible by practicing it so much that you can't mess up. Every time you read some piece of music, it's like you're reading a book. You're not stumbling over words. You're not having trouble with certain phrases. You're used to every single variety of rhythms and pitches that they might throw at you. So if you practice sight reading for 10 to 20 hours, that's probably about right if you want to get a great score. So good luck, and hope that helped.